you keep trusting God when everything in your life feels like it's falling apart? What do you do when the outcome doesn't match your prayers? How do you maintain your faith? I'm Tony from Love Tony V, and welcome to day 4 of the 30-day Life After Loss Storytelling Journey series. And this is where I'm sharing my story in the hope that it helps you get from wherever you are to wherever you are trying to go. And today's topic, I got notes because it's a little heavy, but hopefully we are all feeling lighter by the time we reach the end of it. I was having a conversation today with someone who is struggling with prayer. And she said that she doesn't know how to pray, if she should be praying, because her prayers don't seem to affect the outcome. They don't seem to affect things. So she's prayed for a relationship. She doesn't have a relationship. She has prayed for peace in these international um, incidents that we have going on at the present time. The strife is still happening. She's prayed for healing to happen in her family, and it has not happened. And she's just struggling with that and frustrated because she's been told that prayer changes things. And I know that for myself as well as for many people who have experienced deep loss, there comes a time and a point where you can lose your faith. If you come from a tradition where you believe that good things happen to faithful people, and you've been faithful, and you have prayed, and you have done all the things that you think you're supposed to have done, and still you experience this loss, it can bring you to a point of anger, of frustration, of again losing your faith, losing your belief in God or the goodness of God. And before we get into this, let me just give you some context. So, I am a woman of faith, but I work with people from multiple faith backgrounds, be that Christianity, be that ATRs. So, I work with people who have a variety of belief systems. And the way that I kind of find common ground is I say, when I refer to God, I am speaking of the creator of all of us, the source that makes the sun rise. And, however you phrase that, that is who I'm talking about. Call that what you want, but just so that we're clear about who, what I'm talking about, that's what I'm referring to when I say God. And so this is not a religious discussion per se. It's more, again, a spiritual conversation that can plug into multiple faith traditions. And so, again, I feel called to help people from a variety of walks of life. And so that's the way I kind of find some common ground. So, with that definition in mind, um, I believe that God is good. I believe that God is love. But it's hard to maintain that belief when there are so many atrocities that happen personally to us, as well as globally, as well as historically, as well as in our present times. It can be very, very hard to maintain that belief in the goodness of God when we see and experience things that are anything but good, and we consider ourselves to be faithful people. And the response that I gave to this person is that I think that's a lot of pressure to put on your prayers. That if I pray this, then I'm expecting this to happen. Faith is not to me an if then that equation. And a little bit later, I'm going to share with you the kind of equation that I do think it is, my faith formula. But I think that looking at prayer as transactional really is a lot of pressure, and it leads to heartbreak and disappointment. Because again, you have said your prayers fervently, you have gone to your spiritual counselors and gotten advice and guidance from them, you have sacrificed, you have done all that you could from a spiritual standpoint, and still the outcome was not what you wanted. And I do believe that prayer changes things. I believe that that happens when we are in alignment with the will of God. But the challenge is that we don't actually know what the will of God is all the time. And I told her that this is a mystery. So there are things that will not be revealed to us in this realm, in this format, in this form. Again, as the old gospel song says, we'll understand it in the sweet by and by. It's not meant for us to know today. And that causes a tension because, again, we're living here today. We have these questions and these challenges today and these actions that we're supposed to take today, but it doesn't necessarily all equal up. But when you put that pressure of, I did this right and this still went wrong, there's kind of no place to go in terms of your faith if you feel like it's a bargain and a transaction with God. And you're like, God, I did my part. You didn't do your part. Well, that, again, is very black or white. And I think that in order to maintain our faith, we have to be flexible. And what does that look like? So I recommended that, she embrace the first part of the Serenity Prayer. And that says, God, grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That Serenity Prayer, many people may be familiar with it from the 12 step programs, which is a place where it, really kind of became popular and kind of spread out to the masses. But it is talking about living in that dichotomy of the knowledge that there are things that are outside of my control, and give me serenity around that. Give me peace around understanding that I, one person, cannot necessarily change instantly the course of things. So I can't. If I could, I'm like, don't you think that if you had that much control over these circumstances, that whatever you lost, whoever you lost would be right here? If you, I'm sure, may have said, if I could change places, I would, and that has not happened. You're here, they're not, or the situation still transpired despite your most earnest prayers. So that proves that it can't necessarily be that one to one. And the Serenity Prayer says, give me peace around understanding that I can't necessarily control certain things, but give me the courage to change the things I can. And one of the things that we can change, again, is our mindset around how we navigate this paradox that we live in. So I love to study world religions. I love to study scripture. I love theology. I can go down the rabbit holes all day. I can read those types of books. And again, people have been debating and having this conversation for millennia. But what I say I need is a working theology. I need something that gets me day to day. So there can be the answers that, the higher ups of the organized religion have come up with. But what does that do for us in these moments where we feel like God has abandoned us? That, again, God has said, I heard your prayer, but no. And so I came up with my faith formula, which kind of points towards systems thinking and algebra. So I'm a huge nerd. The name of my business has systems in it. I am a systems thinker, so I come up with frameworks. And what I came up with is the faith formula. And when you think about an algebraic equation. Stay with me, please. I'm not going to hopefully lose too many people talking about math. But again, math and spirituality and science, it all connects. But when you think about an algebraic equation, right? So if we just said 5 plus x equals y, we understand that 5 plus x equals y. We understand that this balances out even though we don't know what x and what y are. Those are unknowns, right? So 5 is our known life. 5 is what we know. 5 is our experiences. X is the will of God. X is that mystery. X is that greater, I don't want to say plan, because again, it feels very cruel to think that this is all planned. But X is kind of, again, like just the things that we do not have sight into, the mystery of life, the mystery of why these things are happening. And then Y is the outcome. So Y is kind of what we do with it, what we make of it. And so we don't know the will, we don't know where we're going, we know where we are, but we can know that it's all in balance. And that concept for me allows me to still believe that God is love, that God is good. And it allows for me to say, I don't know the full picture of this. I don't know why this had to happen. I don't know why these things happen, but I can still appreciate and have a relationship and have my faith. And again, I think going through loss, going through grief, going through tragedy is actually something that for me, it made my faith manifest in a way that it has never been before. There were points where I felt like I had nobody but God. The only reason I was here was because of my relationship with God. And once I got to that point, that was a very rock bottom point. But once I got to that point, it forged my faith in a way that's unshakable. So I always say, I'm like, it's hard won. I got my faith out the furnace, out the fire. And coming to that place and knowing that there was a point where it was just me and God, and I was still kept and I was still sustained, means that whatever happens, whoever's on my side, whoever's in my corner, whatever is happening, I know that I have this relationship with my creator that nobody can take. And again, that is just the way that I'm able to reconcile, again, all of these bad things that happen, all of the horrors and atrocities that the human experience is rife with, again, from ancient times all the way to today, is just part of the human experience. But there are so many good things that I choose to see, that I choose to focus on. There are so many blessings, and really, again, back to the Serenity Prayer, the courage to change the things I can. I can change my outlook. I can change my concepts of how I look at what's happened to me. I can change the meaning that I ascribe to that. As I referenced on day one, for me, I was able to use the loss of my son as a catalyst to catapult me to a different life, a better life, a life of more purpose. When I lost my mother, it actually was the catalyst for me even sitting here before you today. And I'll share more about that story in the coming days. But that loss gave me a sense of purpose around helping people who were experiencing losses like I was and didn't have the resources and the roadmap that I had. And again, finding that gift of purpose, the gift of being able to help people navigate that and sit with that pain was something that I didn't know I had capacity for until I lost my mother. Would I have preferred to have her here and not have those gifts? Absolutely. But again, if I let that loss just be something that I looked at God as taking away from me without looking at what I could benefit from in the course of this, it would be meaningless. And I think that that would be even more of a tragedy than the loss itself, is that I do not give meaning or purpose or some type of transmutation of that loss into something better, whether again that's for myself or for humanity as a whole, whatever that looks like. But I have to ascribe some type of greater, broader meaning to this, again, so that I can maintain my faith, so that I can maintain the way that I view God. So I hope that that's helpful to people. Again, these are things that I can talk about all day. But as people are struggling, and I've had people ask me about, kind of losing their faith. And I always tell people, like, it's fine to lose your faith. It's fine to be angry at God. It's fine to get mad at God. It's fine to stop believing in God. Like, that does not change the truth of what is. That does not change God Himself or however you choose to see God. Like, God is, point blank, period. And it doesn't require you to be happy about what's happened. It doesn't require you to believe that this is some type of punishment. Um, it doesn't have to be that, you'll hear people say, oh, um, the person's in a better place or God must have needed them. I believe God is omnipotent. Like, God doesn't need anything from me. So I don't believe that He lends people to us and then takes them back because He needs them, because I believe He has everything. But I'm like, I don't understand why. I can't say why. And people who try to, offer these kind of sayings, it can be very, very offensive. When you've lost your child and somebody's like, God must have needed them more. How cruel would that be for a loving God to give a parent the desire of their heart, this joy, this love made manifest, and then to take them away? And I can't reconcile that. Again, I need a theology that gets me through the day, that keeps me here. Um, and I need one that does not leave me with bitterness. And so, again, coming up with my faith formula where X is the will of God, which I don't know, and Y is kind of how everything shakes out, I don't know. I know what I've experienced, and I know that it all is in balance. And I know, again, I don't have the expectation that I'm going to understand any of this right now. On day one, I referenced um, the amazing gift that the chaplain at the hospital where I lost my son gave me when she said to me that there are some things that are God's business and there are some things that are our business, and we're not necessarily going to understand God's business. And that resonated with me because I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. And I will lose my mind trying to understand why this happened, why this happened to me, why I couldn't prevent this, why I could not stop this. I will lose my mind trying to understand those things. So, another way that I tell people is, kind of if you need to set that to the side, set it to the side. Set trying to figure it out, set trying to understand, set it to the side. It'll still be there when you're ready to pick it up and you're ready to grapple with it. But if it's debilitating to you right now, if it's, again, causing strife, causing inner turmoil, just set it to the side, because I can't function if my life is in turmoil. I can't function if my heart and my head and my spirit are at war. And grief and loss naturally does that to you. So I don't need to add an additional crisis of faith on top of that. But again, I think the Serenity Prayer is helpful. When I pray on a daily basis, I pray that the desires of my heart are in alignment with God's will. And when I pray that, I'm asking for those things to coexist. So I do believe that these desires of my heart were implanted by God. He made me, He's my creator. And these are desires that I have, and I believe that, those are good, but I don't know His will. And so I pray that those two things can match. The things that you have instilled in me to desire, let those align with what you want for me, and so that this can be cohesive. I'm one of those people who believe in us being co creators with God, that again, we are made in His image, and that means that we have creative power, that we can think of something and see it made manifest in the world. And I believe that God and I work in tandem to achieve the things that He has purposed me for. I don't always understand what those are. There are some things that I've wanted that have not been good for me, and those things were not in alignment with Him. I'm here to tell you it makes it a lot easier when you kind of have this outlook, because I look for flow in my life. And so I believe that when the doors open easily, that means it's flow. When there's friction, when it's hard, when I have to struggle, when I have to try to convince, when I have to try to twist people's arms or manipulate situations, that's not flow. And so that's not the way I'm trying to go. And so I just kind of like the water. The water that flows over rocks through a river. I'm flowing around these obstacles. If this door is too hard to open, what's this door that looks easy to walk through? And so again, these are just some tips for you. It's the end of a very, very long day for me, but I wanted to come on and share this conversation that I had with somebody. This is not even kind of planned in the series for this to come on this day, but I really, really felt like it would be helpful for people who are at that crisis of faith and feeling that they are losing their faith, that they are losing their belief in God. And again, like I said earlier, that is absolutely fine, because I think that there's times in our lives where we might step away from our faith. We might step away from our belief in God. But the God that I believe in is right there waiting, for you to come back, if and when you ever come back. Whatever that looks like for you, it's all good. But you have got to find things that keep you here. And when I say keep you here, what I'm referring to is when you are in such despair that you'd rather not be here, you have got to find a outlook that keeps you here, right? And that can, again, look like putting your faith on pause, because the alternative to kind of pondering how this happened, why He would let this happen, that can really, again, kind of take you down a path. And if you are dealing with loss, you already got enough to worry about. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that you are signed up, subscribe to Love Tony V, my YouTube channel here, and get notified of the upcoming days. Go back and watch if you have not caught up with the first few days, and let me know again kind of how have you been able to navigate this faith, um, kind of struggle that happens when we experience loss that doesn't make sense to us. And have you stepped away? Have you come back? What was most helpful for you? I shared again what was most helpful for me, but I would love to know from you what was most helpful. So I again hope this was helpful, and see you guys tomorrow.